Yesterday, we all saw the power of the Israel innovation by meeting all those amazing companies. May I have the presentation, please? Israel, we all know Israel for this. And for this, we have more than 1,200 startups, new startups every year. But Israel is more than R&D, and that's what our panel is going to be about. Take, for example, the semiconductors. Israel has the most leading advanced factories regarding semiconductors. Intel, for example, has its top facilities in Israel with more than 10,000 employees. Automotive. In Israel, we have more than 250 innovative companies in the automotive sector, most of them aftermarket suppliers, producing for the top car companies in the world. Pharmaceutical. We have Frego, we have Teva, which are building a strong industry of pharmaceutical in Israel. We have the honor, by the way, to have Mr. Yitzhak Peterburg, Professor Yitzhak Peterburg later, the chairman of the board of Teva. Israel also known for its strong medical devices ecosystem. That's what makes companies as Philips and GE find a lot of great opportunities in Israel regarding the medical devices ecosystem. 3D printing. Israel is one of the leading countries in the world for 3D printing technologies, the future technologies for manufacturing. Agrotech. More than 3 million acres in the United States use Netafim micro-irrigation systems. In Israel, we have a variety of agro companies that decided to produce their products in Israel. We have more and more, but I don't want to say more, because I would like to ask 3 people to this stage to tell us from their experience, from their knowledge in Israel, why Israel is beyond R&D. And I would like to ask the member of the panel to go to the stage, Mr. Oded Meirav, Manager Global Research, Israel Technology Center of GE. Mrs. Galit Levy, Manager Government Affairs and Regulation of Intel Israel. And Mr. Yaron, VP Worldwide R&D, Johnson & Johnson.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
No, just a minute. I just want to start first with the panel members to tell us about their activities in Israel. Are you okay with it? Are you okay with the mic?
Yeah, just hold on a second. Okay. Good morning. Can you hear me well? My name is Oded Meirav. I've been a frequent flyer to this conference, and Ziv, thanks again for inviting me, and thanks for the long partnership with the GE. And thanks Ziva and Amit and the Ministry of Economy for inviting us to tell you a little bit about the story of GE in Israel in general and why we're doing more than just R&D. This is the clicker. Yeah. So GE has been active in Israel for almost pretty much from the get-go. The first 50 years or so, we focused mainly on commercial activities. A third of the electrons being generated by the Israeli electric company are generated on GE turbines. Some of the Air Force engines are made by GE Aviation, and so on and so forth. But in 1998, we kind of moved to the next phase, to a new level of involvement in the Israeli economy. And that is when GE Medical Systems at the time acquired what used to be Elsint and established GE Healthcare. At this point, since that point, we have in Israel both R&D and manufacturing of advanced medical devices, and I'm going to dwell into that in a moment. Later on, in the last 10 years or so, we also set up external innovation centers, GE Global Research, GE Ventures, and GE Digital. We're going to say a few words about that in a minute. So if I divide our activities in Israel into 4 buckets, we have, as I mentioned, the external innovation units. Yesterday there was a panel here led by Inon Dolev from GE Digital sitting here, and Jonathan Pulitzer sitting there. And together with GE Global Research, we are chartered with creating partnerships of different kinds with Israeli tech companies. I'm not going to dwell on that now, but if there are entities, startups, and so on who wish to explore such partnerships with GE, please reach out to us. We also have, as I mentioned, our ongoing commercial activities. I'm not going to talk about that now. We have a couple of very, I would say, interesting renewable energy projects. I'm going to mention them in a minute, but I'm going to spend most of my time on what we're doing in the manufacturing and advanced manufacturing phase. So as I said, in terms of external innovation, here is a partial list of Israeli companies that have partnered with us in various shapes and forms. Some of these companies are here today, and you're more than welcome to reach out to Inon, Jonathan, and myself if you want to learn more about what GE has got to offer in terms of such partnerships. In terms of large green energy projects, I think that GE is leading, at least in Israel, is now leading the pack with these 2 magnificent projects, I should say. One is a very large solar thermal project in the south, in the Negev, and the other one is a very innovative pumped hydro project in the Gilboa. Again, I'm not going to dwell on that, but just for your information, these are really cutting-edge technology projects, I should say. And now I want to spend a few more minutes on GE Healthcare and why GE Healthcare in Israel is more than just R&D. Ziv, you probably remember this picture very well. Exactly 3 years ago, we had Jeff Immelt, our chairman and CEO, here on this stage. Actually, it was in New York, as a keynote speaker. And he made a very interesting statement there. He said that when he ran GE Medical Systems 20 years ago, he made the decision to acquire Elsint at the time, and that this was the best acquisition he made when he ran GE Medical Systems. I thought this is a very important vote of confidence in Israeli technology and in what we can do in Israel. And indeed, today we have at least 3 impressive activities on the ground in Israel that combine R&D and manufacturing. The first one has to do with nuclear medicine. I don't know how many of you are familiar with nuclear medicine. These are basically those gamma cameras that are used excuse me, in hospitals all over the world. And the global headquarters for the GE Healthcare nuclear medicine business is located in Israel, in Tirat Carmel to be exact. And they developed a state-of-the-line automated production line for manufacturing and assembling these gamma cameras. I guess you're not in this field, so I'm not going to bore you with the details, but I think the pictures speak for themselves. This is something that you cannot do in low-cost countries in the third world. You really need high-tech, advanced engineers and manufacturing experts to set up such a production line. The other example I'd like to bring up is our ultrasound line. In Israel, we focus on cardiovascular ultrasounds, as well as point of care. Again, I'm assuming that you're not experts, but let me just tell you that some of the best ultrasound scanners in the world are made in Israel by GE Healthcare, and as you can see, state-of-the-art assembly line. Last but not least is our CZT detector production facility located in Rehovot. For those of you who are not familiar with that, CZT is a crystal basically, and this growing and using this crystal within a special detector is actually the best next generation digital X-ray detectors available today. The facility in Rehovot is by far the highest yield, provides the highest yield in the world. As you can tell, it's a very advanced, complex, and cutting-edge process, and we are very proud of being able to establish and grow this activity in Israel. These detectors later on are assembled into the GE Healthcare nuclear medicine cameras that I showed you before, and they enable faster acquisition, higher image quality, and lower dose to the patient. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. Is it working? All right, as usual. Well, for the one who woke up this morning, I'll try to do my best to just let you know why I traveled all the way from Israel. Well, my name is Galit Levy. I am the Government Affairs Manager for Intel in Israel. And this morning, I'm not here to promote Intel at all. I'm here just to tell you how good for us as an Intel corporation, who sits actually here, to manufacture and to do business in Israel. And I made some foils for that. Okay. Intel in Israel is the first facility, or actually the first business outside of the United States of America. At 74, it started in a small apartment, 3 employees in Haifa, which is now turned out to be like 10,000 employees approximately on 5 locations in Israel. It divides for two divisions, the R&D section, which is the biggest outside of the United States, and the manufacturing facilities in Kiryat Gat and Jerusalem, which is also manufactures in very advanced technology here in Israel. Over those 41 years of business in Israel, Intel Corporation has invested more than $10 billion in Israel. It is a lot, and believe me, Intel would not have done it if it was ROI and very effective for Intel Corporation. Here you can see the investment, and this is the employee rates. We are traditionally also looking at the multiplier of the direct and indirect employment, and we can say we are influencing over 30 houses within Israeli economy. It's a multiplier, the traditional multiplier for 1/3. Okay. Beyond the R&D, we've talked about the manufacture for a little while. I would like to emphasize that the Israeli innovation is very, very, very innovative for the Intel Corporation. You can see from the small starter in Haifa, which is now takes 5,000 employees in Haifa. They are taking care of, or they are responsible through the innovation of the very highest innovative microprocessor of the Intel Corporation. And believe me, it is very, very good for Intel Corporation. They are responsible for a significant part of the Intel's revenue. Well, Intel as a business, huge corporation, mainly directs to look at the 4 R's. It is very, very important for us to be very effective and very, very we're trying to do our business in an efficient way. So we're taking the 4 R's, which I will now take a few moments to just let you know what is exactly those are, and it can be amplified in many, many versions. Let's look, for example, on the reduce part. It can be either reduce a footprint on the globe, which is very important for us as the Intel Corporation, and it even emphasizes that reduce costs. Intel is willing to do the business in an efficient way and a low cost. For example, and as a part of our partnership with the government, I can point out, for example, Delexan, I think they're here. They are a small business that came to Intel with a very, very innovative idea how to reduce waste, chemical waste, in a very, very innovative way. It helps us to reduce cost. It's less that electronical waste, and it's very innovative way. For now, I can tell you that those guys that started with 20 employees, they came for the government, they told us we have an innovative way, they received some grants from the government and our leadership and support, and now they're willing to sell this technological solution to Intel worldwide, and they opened a new facility on the south. And it is just a small example of how our business can either support other businesses. It's not Intel exclusive. If you guys will be able to think about even considering doing business in Israel, all this infrastructure, all this ecosystem, all this supply chain is willing to support you as well. It's not an Intel exclusive way. The reuse, we are reusing tools. We are moving our tools in between the Intel's sites all over. Recycle, for example. Now we are in the middle of the ramp to new technology. We have huge waste of building waste, and it's recycled very efficiently by many, many partners and many, many small, medium businesses that emerge and are recycling the waste. We always used to say that our waste is someone else's treasure, and they're willing to do it very efficiently and very innovative, and also supporting the ecosystem. Okay. Well, the thing is, I would like here just to take a few minutes and to tell you why is it Intel choose to do the business or to advance manufacture in Israel. First, you've heard a lot about this 2 days and beyond, about the startup nation culture, about the can-do attitude of the people, the risk-taking, the military advice, the military experience. They're all embedded in our people, embedded in our skills and abilities, and it's really showing up as our facility in Kiryat Gat is one of the best, or the best, if I may say, manufacturer plant in Intel's worldwide. The infrastructure is already there. If you're willing to come, you can just lay over our sustainability supply chains. For example, we are taking care of underrepresented minorities and put them inside our business and supply chain. The infrastructure is always there. The roads, the industrial park provides many of the small, medium businesses with the solutions that can promote their businesses. Me, as a young mother, we have kindergarten in the industrial park, for example. It's not just Intel employees' kids, it's all over, and it's subsidized with the government as well. It's just one small example, but this innovative collaboration with the government and the ecosystem really gives a very, very innovative solutions. The regulatory supportive arena, we really have ears, and we are really, really great collaborating with the government. It's not just because we're Intel. If anyone can approach the economy ministry, Amit, Ziva, Nahum, the Ministry of Finance, they're willing to help, they're willing to remove barriers, they're willing to be there for you. It is a national goal to promote the investment here in Israel. And it's not just because we're Intel. The government incentive, we've talked a lot about it last panel and everything, tax grant, tax incentive, grants, it's all over, and you just can't reach about it. And guys will let you know and support, and a one-stop shop, they will assist you. And if we can help as Intel, we can do it with open minds and open hearts. Just connect us, and together we're willing to help and support, not just because it's Israel, because it's good for the business. And this is my case today. Thank you.
Hello, good morning. I'm Uri Yaron with Johnson & Johnson. Got into J&J through the acquisition of Biosense 19 years ago. Johnson & Johnson today has in Israel over 1,000 people with operating budgets of a few $100 million. But I'm going to focus on one company and one story to kind of articulate kind of the message. Biosense is the world leader in catheter ablation of cardiac arrhythmias. This is between $3 and $4 billion market, and we're the strong #1 leader in this space. J&J actually got into this space through the acquisition of Biosense 19 years ago. Focus is treatment of atrial fibrillation. It's the most common cardiac arrhythmia. Impacts over 20 million people a year. The #1 cause of stroke, a lot of reasons to treat this arrhythmia. And this procedure and our technology is key for the diagnosis and the treatment of that arrhythmia. So from a technology kind of standpoint, we have a system, computerized system, that connects to multiple catheters that inserted into the heart for such procedures, and obviously a lot of training programs to support it. And the complexity of this is a high-tech, high-end system connected with multiple disposables that serve in these procedures. Kind of the core of the technology is highlighted in this video that kind of just briefly explain what it is. It's a miniature location sensor, the size of the tip of a pencil, that is built into interventional catheters. They're introduced into the heart, typically from the groin. There's something like a GPS, low-level magnetic field, that is generated in the area of the heart. The catheter is moved to touch the surface of the heart at plurality of points. And there's a three-dimensional reconstruction of the heart with a color code relating to electrical activities and sources of arrhythmias. Set up in the lab, pretty standard catheterization procedure with a system and multiple catheters that are used in this procedure. This is kind of the very core of the technology that has evolved since then in many, many ways, but this explains kind of the core of that. A few words about being part of J&J. I trust the audience here to kind of recognize Johnson & Johnson with some of the key parameters for the success of Johnson & Johnson. Very sustainable, built to last. 24 brands that are over $1 billion. One of them is ours. One of the only 3 companies in the world that are AAA rated, and substantial part of the business coming from new products that are launched in the last 5 years. The statistics for overall J&J is 25%, for ours is more than 50%. So the pace of innovation here is critical for the success of that business. And Israel is really an area where a lot of these ideas come from. But it goes beyond ideas, as we'll talk about it, just taking these ideas into products. So from a couple of slides kind of highlighting this, taken from Alex Gorski, our CEO and chairman. This is from his presentation in JP Morgan, 2015, here in San Francisco, showing the legacy of innovation of Johnson & Johnson from First Aid and Band-Aid. And as you see, when you get to the end on the top right, is a product that we launched a couple of years ago and is now the leading ablation catheter in the world, less than a year after it was launched. When Alex kind of looks at the innovation of J&J, then obviously there's some internal innovation, but a lot of innovation coming from the outside. And he kind of highlighted the 4 key acquisitions that Johnson & Johnson made in the last 20 years. And as you can see, Biosense Webster is one of them. Business has been acquired with $1 million sales, generated in 2013, 1.3. It's approaching $2 billion in the next couple of years. Very substantial success story of a technology that was initially developed outside, brought into J&J, and continued to grow and have a major impact and a growth driver for Johnson & Johnson. I think this would get us to the next slide. So kind of showing kind of the entire kind of structure of R&D and manufacturing. It's really an ecosystem where R&D and operations work hand in hand, very similar to what Oded kind of described, and the proximity of R&D and operation is key to our success. So at the core of it, we have a technology center in Yokneam. Very hard to kind of pronounce Yokneam for Americans, so we call it Haifa. But it's really in Yokneam. And as you kind of go around the world, we have multiple locations. Substantial part of them are actually in Israel. And so the center is in Israel, where we kind of run this entire kind of enterprise. We do high volume manufacturing of catheters in Mexico. But as you see, the various key suppliers are large multinationals and local Israeli companies. And the most impressive, I think, relevant story is on the right-hand side on the top, a collaboration with a Chinese company that employs over 1,000 people in China, but has an engineering firm in Israel that kind of helps kind of transfer some of the manufacturing to China. But as you see, substantial part of manufacturing is done in Israel, in Carmiel, in Migdal HaEmek, in Yokneam, kind of all over the country, and the proximity between R&D and operations is critical for a success of this, given the short life cycle timelines. The proximity is kind of key for the success of this operation. Next slide kind of shows the similar thing in a slightly different way. But again, as you see, substantial presence in Israel of operations. And the effective and the efficient transfer to manufacturing, the life cycle managements are key. Our ability to move quickly, to design, to prototype, to develop, to manufacture, could not replicate it in anywhere else in the world. And finally, I'm just giving some examples of without providing the actual names of the partners we're working with. But as you see, there's a China, Israel engineering, high volume manufacturing, large Israeli manufacturer, a few multinationals, and all of them have very unique capabilities, state-of-the-art technologies, capabilities and processes, and the close proximity is key to our success. Thank you.
Thank you for this part. Actually, what you could see here is the very simple concept. When innovation is no longer just a high-level word, but it's your oxygen for your business, then your production and your whole business needs to be allocated where the technology, the best technology you can find, is allocated. So that's why those companies decided to allocate it to Israel, because first, there is great technology that you can just put your production a part of the ecosystem. And second, there is a great platform of government support. But now I would like to ask one question for all of you. What is the advantages that you have in operating your business in Israel? Galit, maybe we'll start with.
Thanks. Well, if I may say, and I'm just going to emphasize the Israeli spirit here. If you ask for one, I'll give you three, because that's where I came from. The first one is the people. We are our employees have very high productivities. They are willing to success. They're very innovative. And for example, in Intel worldwide, we have a competition that's called the Intel Quality Award. It's like the Oscar Nobel Prize for Intel manufacturing, and it's also measured by a very, very strong indicator of success. And the Israeli factory plant in Kiryat Gat he won last year's award, and it now is the very, very, very first place plant in the world. It's just emphasized what the people can do. It's very innovative, and it's not just people, it's also the strong sustainable ecosystem and supply chain in Israel. The innovative is like in every layer, in every place you can just even touch. The small, medium businesses are willing to support Intel operation, and all the ecosystem support Intel operation. It's not just Intel. The innovative has been there. They're thinking out of the box. They're promoting solutions that can support Intel business worldwide, and that is why I think Israel is very, very good for advanced manufacturing and business in Israel.
Thank you.
I should say that within GE, advanced manufacturing is one of the most important initiatives and one of the places where GE invests more than any other field across all business units. The main components are, I would say, robotics, advanced robotics, industrial IoT, cloud and big data analytics, 3D printing, advanced materials, coatings, and so on and so forth. All these elements that I just mentioned actually exist in Israel, and it's all within 100 miles, as we say. We all know each other. We can all benefit from all these external resources. For example, at the panel we had here yesterday, Inon and Jonathan led, there was an Israeli startup company by the name of Platane that we partner with, which offers exactly what I mentioned a few minutes ago, and there are other such external companies. Together with our in-house engineers on the ground and the entire Israeli ecosystem, such as the government, academia, external investors, incubators, and so on and so forth, we believe that if you're into advanced R&D, Israel is the right place for us to be. If you're looking for low-cost sweatshops, you probably want to go somewhere else, third world, and so on. But for us, advanced manufacturing, Israel is the right place to be.
So our CEO chairman was in Israel a few years ago, and he said that as a tourist, he comes to Israel to see the past, and as a Johnson & Johnson executive, he comes to Israel to see the future. So to some extent, I think that this kind of summarizes this because it's the ecosystem that we have, specifically in medical devices. There are over 1,200 medical device companies in Israel with substantial expertise in every step of the design and development and manufacturing of this. A lot of know-how. If you look at the world and you're looking at hubs of innovation around medical devices, and one of them is in California, Northern California, Southern California, Minneapolis, Boston. Israel would be one of the top 4 such hubs for medical devices. The know-how is there, the connections are there. There's not a problem that you have that you can't within 24 hours kind of find experts in the area that can help you solve the problem. So it's really around the entire ecosystem and substantial know-how. And the important thing, this is not know-how of just coming up with ideas, the ability to take the idea, prototype it, develop it, design it, turn it into a product. This entire expertise kind of resides in Israel, which makes it very attractive to large corporations like J&J.
Yeah, it's something. I think it will mutual thought about all 3 of us and more, that the point is that the government of Israel, and it's not very well known, I think, in this arena, and I would be very happy if you would spread the news that the government of all those initiatives and all of its components are really willing to do business, willing to support, willing to remove barrier and do this. And it's not just a statement. I can amplify and I can exemplify it, and if you need my support, I'll be outdoor. And I think all of us, if we need anything, if we can even adjust our business and to promote our business, the government is really willing to support. Although it gives us a hard time, though. Don't make it, very easy. Otherwise, they won't do their job. But having said that, they're really, really here to support and to promote our businesses. It's mutual win-win situation, both for the government in Israel and for our business operation.
Just one short question for Uri. Do you think that the Israel business environment is competitive to other countries?
Business standpoint, like tax laws and things of that sort?
Like tax, the whole package that you get as a foreign investors in Israel.
It's interesting. We kind of expanded our presence in Israel something like 5-6 years ago. And at that stage, we had a team at J&J that kind of looked at other options. Interestingly enough, they looked at Israel, Ireland, Switzerland, and Puerto Rico. And interestingly enough, this objective team kind of ranked Israel as the lowest. A few of us are kind of Israelis and can understand that some of the areas where they thought that Israel could be risky or less friendly, we've been able to kind of correct this impression. But the impression from the outside is not always that kind of positive. And Israel is, we have to admit, is perceived as risky. Every time we're kind of trying to go for another investment, there are missiles coming either from here or from there. So, but we have spent a lot of effort kind of making sure that J&J can understand that Israel, despite all the challenges, there are challenges worldwide, not only in Israel. And so far in 20 years that we're part of J&J, there was not a single hiccup in manufacturing and supply. I know that this is with GE the same. So Israeli companies has been able, despite all these challenges, to kind of deliver despite all the challenges. The entire kind of environment, I don't know that is published as well. Companies are kind of starting to kind of learn and see the value of Israel. It starts from innovation. Everyone recognizes the innovation and the R&D superpower of Israel. With regards to operations and beyond, Johnson & Johnson is kind of getting comfortable with it. It seems like corporations that are doing business in Israel are getting comfortable with it. Obviously, Intel, that is in Israel since 1974, got comfortable with it. But for other companies, I think we need to do a better job kind of carrying the message that you can do business in Israel beyond R&D and be successful and would have a major positive impact on businesses.
This is what the whole idea of this panel, just getting you the message. And you have also booklets on your chairs, providing all the details about doing business in Israel, all the information you need to know. Thank you very much for sharing us with your success stories of your companies operating in Israel. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate that. Thank you.